All right, fuckers, let's cut the crap and dive into some serious shit. Marilyn Monroe,
Hmm.
blonde bombshell, Hollywood royalty, and dead as a goddamn doornail for, what, like over 60 years?
Oh,
But here's the thing. The woman's more famous now than when she was actually alive.
it's insane.
It's like dying was the best career move she ever made.
Her face is plastered everywhere.
Everywhere.
But nobody really knows the real story. It's all just speculation and bullshit.
And that, my friend, is why you're here. We snagged ourselves a real expert, someone who's actually sifted through the mountains of bullshit surrounding Marilyn's death. We're talking autopsy reports, witness statements, the whole 9 yards. So, to our listeners who want to know what really went down that fateful night in August of '62, buckle up, buttercups. This is going to be a wild ride.
It wasn't just one night, though. To really understand what happened, you got to look at the years leading up to Marilyn's death.
Okay.
It was a downward spiral of mental illness, substance abuse, and a career that was starting to seriously tank.
Yeah, the whole troubled starlet thing. But wasn't she, like, on top of the world? I mean, the woman was married to Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller. Talk about a power couple. What the hell went wrong?
Well, both marriages were short-lived and tumultuous.
Ah, right.
Behind that glamorous facade, Marilyn was battling some serious demons. Crippling depression, anxiety, and a dependence on pills that would make your head spin.
So she was popping pills like candy. What kind of shit was she on?
Both uppers and downers.
A dangerous combo.
A dangerous cocktail. Amphetamines to keep her going and barbiturates to knock her out. Her medical records paint a pretty bleak picture. Plus, she was dealing with endometriosis, a painful condition that can really mess with your mental state. And she even had her gallbladder removed around this time.
Hold up. Gallbladder removal. What the hell does that have to do with anything?
It's called a cholecystectomy, and it can be a pretty invasive surgery. Recovery can be rough, both physically and emotionally. Imagine going through that while also dealing with a shitstorm of personal and professional problems. It's no wonder she was relying on pills to cope.
Okay, so we've got a woman who's physically ill, mentally fragile, and whose career is circling the drain. Not exactly a recipe for a happy ending. But was it all just her inner demons? Or were there darker forces at play? I mean, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Kennedys. Was she really screwing around with those guys?
Her connection to the Kennedys is a murky area. There are rumors of affairs with both JFK and Bobby Kennedy, but the evidence is pretty flimsy. We're talking hearsay, speculation, and a whole lot of people trying to cash in on the tragedy.
But where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Those Kennedys were notorious for their skirt chasing, so it wouldn't surprise me if Marilyn got tangled up in their web.
Look, it's no secret that the Kennedys had a reputation for being, shall we say, sexually adventurous.
Putting it lightly.
But let's be real, even if she was involved with one or both of them, does that automatically make them responsible for her death?
Fair point. But let's not forget, these were powerful men with a lot to lose. A scandal involving a troubled starlet could have been disastrous for their careers. Maybe they had a motive to silence her.
It's a juicy theory, I'll give you that.
It is.
But we're here to deal with facts, not fantasies, and the fact is, there's no concrete evidence linking the Kennedys to Marilyn's death. No smoking gun, no credible witnesses, nothing.
All right. I hear you. But let's not dismiss the possibility of a cover-up just yet. We'll dig into that more later. For now, let's rewind back to August 4th, 1962, the day Marilyn died. Talk us through it. What the hell happened?
On the surface, it seemed like a pretty normal Saturday. Marilyn spent the day at her home in Brentwood, California. She had a meeting with a photographer, chatted with friends on the phone, and even got a massage. But behind the scenes, things were far from peaceful. She was reportedly agitated and anxious, and there were some strange phone calls that raised red flags.
Okay, spill the tea. Who was calling? What were they saying?
Well, one call that stands out is from Peter Lawford, who was married to JFK's sister, Pat.
Right.
He was trying to get Marilyn to come to a party, but she sounded completely out of it. She was slurring her words and saying some bizarre things before abruptly hanging up.
Damn. That's some seriously shady shit. What did Lawford do? Did he call the cops?
He was freaked out, understandably. He tried calling her back, but she didn't answer. He then contacted her agent, who tried reaching her psychiatrist. It was a whole chain of frantic phone calls, but nobody seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation.
Wait, so people were worried but didn't actually, go check on her? What the fuck?
It's easy to judge in hindsight, but remember, this was 1962. Mental health wasn't exactly a hot topic, and celebrities were often shielded from public scrutiny. Plus, Marilyn had a history of erratic behavior, so maybe they thought she was just having a bad day.
A bad day that ended with her dead. All right, let's fast forward to the middle of the night. Who found her, and what was the scene like?
It was her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, who discovered her body around 3 to 11 in the morning. She had woken up and noticed a light under Marilyn's bedroom door. When she couldn't get a response, she called Marilyn's psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, who told her to look through the window.
That's where they found her, dead in her bed.
Exactly. Naked, face down, clutching a phone. A classic Hollywood tragedy.
Jesus. Talk about a fucked up way to go. So what happened next? Did the cops suspect foul play right away?
The official investigation began, but there were inconsistencies from the get-go. The scene wasn't properly secured, witness statements were conflicting, and there was a general feeling that something wasn't quite right. But before we dive into all that, let's talk about the autopsy report. What did the coroner actually find?
Yeah.
The autopsy, conducted by a guy named Thomas Noguchi, he was like the rock star coroner of LA back then, showed no signs of a struggle or any obvious foul play. Officially, Marilyn died from acute barbiturate poisoning.
So an overdose.
She had a shit ton of nebutyl and chloral hydrate in her system, way more than enough to kill her.
So a classic overdose. Case closed, right? Except this is Marilyn Monroe we're talking about. Nothing is ever that simple. What about the whole no suicide note thing? Isn't that kind of suspicious?
Yeah, that's one of the big mysteries.
Right.
You'd think if she planned to off herself, she would have left a note, especially someone like Marilyn, who loved to write. But there's nothing. Nada.
So what are we saying then? Was it an accident? Did she just miscalculate her dosage and accidentally take too many pills?
It's possible, but then you've got the housekeeper story, which is all over the place.
Oh, yeah, the housekeeper.
First, she says she found Marilyn early in the evening and called the doctor, but then she changes her story and says it was actually the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And get this, some reports say the sheets on Marilyn's bed had been washed and the room was tidy, even though it was supposed to be a crime scene.
Hold the fucking phone. Wash sheets, a tidy room. That sounds like someone was trying to cover something up. Who the hell cleans up a crime scene before the cops get there?
Exact, right? It just adds to the whole air of suspicion. And then you've got the missing diary. Rumor has it that Marilyn kept a little red diary where she spilled all the tea on her affairs with the Kennedys and other powerful men. Some people believe that diary disappeared the night she died, and whoever took it wanted to keep its secrets buried.
Damn, that's some juicy shit. Imagine the dirt that diary must have contained.
Right?
It would be like a nuclear bomb going off in Hollywood and Washington.
It would have been a scandal of epic proportions. But let's be real, there's no actual proof this diary ever existed. It could just be another one of those Hollywood myths that gets passed around like a bad joint.
Okay, so the diary might be a bust.
Uh-huh.
But what about the other players in this whole fucked up saga? We talked about the Kennedys, but there were other shady characters sniffing around Marilyn, right? What about the mob? Weren't they pissed off at the Kennedys for cracking down on organized crime?
Yeah, you can't talk about Marilyn's death without mentioning the mob. Guys like Jimmy Hoffa and Sam Giancana had scores to settle with the Kennedys, and some believe they used Marilyn as a pawn in their game.
Wait, back up a sec. Who the hell are these guys? Give us the lowdown.
All right, so Jimmy Hoffa was the head of the Teamsters Union, basically a badass labor leader who also had close ties to the mafia.
Okay.
He was pissed because Robert Kennedy, as Attorney General, was going after him hard, trying to put him behind bars.
And Giancana, he was a mob boss, right?
Yeah.
What was his beef with the Kennedys?
Giancana was the head honcho of the Chicago outfit, one of the most powerful mafia families in America. He supposedly helped JFK win the election, but then felt betrayed when the Kennedys turned on the mob. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
So we've got two powerful mobsters with axes to grind, and Marilyn, poor girl, gets caught in the crossfire. Sounds like a classic Hollywood noir plot. But what's the evidence connecting them to Marilyn's death?
That's the million-dollar question. There are rumors that Marilyn was having affairs with both JFK and Bobby Kennedy, and that Hoffa or Giancana found out and used that information to blackmail the brothers. The theory goes that Marilyn was going to spill the beans about the affairs, so they had her silenced to protect the Kennedy dynasty.
Damn, that's some next-level conspiracy shit. But is there any actual proof?
Like I said, it's mostly rumors and speculation. No hard evidence has ever surfaced linking Hoffa or Giancana directly to Marilyn's death. It's all hearsay and conjecture.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got the official story overdose, probably suicide. But then we've got all these weird inconsistencies. No suicide note, washed sheets, a missing diary, and the Kennedys and the mob lurking in the background. It's enough to make your head spin. Where do we go from here?
Well, we have to separate the facts from the fiction. Yes, there are unanswered questions, but that doesn't automatically mean there was a conspiracy. Sometimes the truth is messy and doesn't fit neatly into a box.
So are we saying that Marilyn's death will forever remain a mystery?
It's possible, but that doesn't mean we can't learn something from it.
Yeah.
By examining the evidence, the rumors, and the context of her life, we can get a clearer picture of who Marilyn Monroe really was and the forces that may have contributed to her tragic end.
All right, I'm ready to dive deeper into this rabbit hole. Let's talk about some of the key players in this whole mess, starting with the first cop on the scene, Jack Clemens. He later claimed there was some shady shit going down that night. What's his story?
Jack Clemens was the first cop to arrive at Marilyn's house that night.
Right.
At first, he filed a routine report. Nothing out of the ordinary. But years later,
Yeah.
he starts singing a different tune.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He claimed that the scene had been tampered with, that Marilyn's diary was missing, and that there was pressure from higher-ups to just wrap things up quickly.
So basically, he went from just another Hollywood suicide to, holy shit, there's a conspiracy afoot.
Yeah.
What changed? Why the sudden about-face?
Well, some people say he was just trying to cash in on the whole Marilyn mystique,
Yeah.
trying to make a name for himself by spinning a juicy tale. But others believe he genuinely had second thoughts about that night and felt like something wasn't right. Whatever his motivation, his later claims definitely threw fuel on the conspiracy fire.
Okay, let's talk about those conspiracies. We've covered a lot of ground, but it still feels like we're dancing around the big question. Was Marilyn murdered? And if so, who the hell did it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
There are a lot of theories out there, some more plausible than others, but like I said before, we have to stick to the facts. And the fact is, there's no smoking gun, no irrefutable evidence that points to murder.
But come on, you can't deny that there are a lot of weird coincidences and unanswered questions surrounding her death. The missing diary, the washed sheets, the conflicting witness statements, it's all pretty damn suspicious.
I'm not denying that there are things that don't add up.
Right.
But suspicion isn't the same as proof. And when you really examine the evidence, a lot of those conspiracy theories fall apart under scrutiny.
So what are we left with? A tragic overdose. A troubled woman who just couldn't escape her demons.
It's likely that Marilyn's death was the result of a combination of factors. Her mental health struggles, her substance abuse, the pressures of fame, the toxic relationships that all came crashing down on her in those final years.
It's a pretty bleak picture. But let's not forget that Marilyn was more than just a tragic figure. She was a goddamn icon, a symbol of beauty, sexuality, and female empowerment. What do you think her legacy is beyond all the drama and conspiracy theories?
Marilyn Monroe was a complex and contradictory figure. She was both vulnerable and ambitious, insecure and confident, a victim of circumstance, and a master of her own image. Her legacy is multifaceted and continues to be debated and reinterpreted to this day.
She definitely knew how to work a camera. Those iconic images, the white dress blowing up over the subway grate, the sultry bedroom eyes, that unforgettable smile, they're burned into our collective consciousness.
Her image is instantly recognizable, transcending time and culture.
Absolutely.
It speaks to her enduring power and her ability to connect with people on a deep emotional level.
So what's the final verdict? Was Marilyn Monroe a tragic victim, a shrewd manipulator, or something in between?
I think she was all of those things.
Yeah.
She was a woman who was both exploited and empowered by the Hollywood machine, who yearned for love and acceptance, but often found herself surrounded by leeches and users. In the end, she was a human being who struggled with her demons and ultimately paid the ultimate price.
Well, folks, there you have it. We've dissected the evidence, explored the rumors, and tried to make sense of the chaos that surrounded Marilyn Monroe's life and death.
We may never know for sure what happened that night in August of '62, but by examining the facts and challenging the myth, we can gain a deeper understanding of this iconic figure and the forces that shaped her destiny.
One thing's for sure, Marilyn Monroe's story continues to fascinate us because it reminds us that fame and fortune don't guarantee happiness, and that even the brightest stars can burn out too soon.
And that sometimes the truth is more complex and unsettling than any conspiracy theory.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the life and death of Marilyn Monroe. We hope you learned a thing or two and maybe even had your mind blown a little bit. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, the truth is out there, but it's rarely as simple as it seems.